So I want to welcome you all to the Wellbeing Advantage at Work, research-based tools for boosting your happiness and productivity. It's also really a case, I'm going to be making a case for why well-being at work isn't just good for us, but actually good for the organizations we work for. So if we have any managers or administrators or directors or future leaders, be it in business and nonprofit in any category, I hope you're listening, because the well-being of the individuals you work for is actually the well-being of your organization. Those two things are not separate. This event is being sponsored by the Elfenwork Center of Responsible Business. I recently led a webinar and forgot to introduce myself. So my name is Michal Strahilevitz. I know the spelling's a little scary, but it's pronounced like Michelle in English. I'm a well-being educator. I teach multiple classes at St. Mary's College, the science of well-being, the psychology of becoming happier. And I'm also the director of the Elfenwork Center for Responsible Business. Also, a shout out to my Guyette Fellows who are here. They're part of a program that I organize in responsible leadership. And of course, to the officers of Net Impact who are also here. Hello, and thank you to everyone who is here. I'm going to start by asking you some questions. And I want you to post your answers in the chat. So this lets you kind of be anonymous. Again, you're not going to appear in the video. The first question I have is, which of the following statements is more true? Success makes you happy, or happiness makes you successful? Both of them are true, but research has shown that one of them influences the other more than the other influences the one, if that makes any sense. So if you think the first statement is more true, write 1. And if you think the second statement is more true or a stronger effect, I want you to write 2 in the chat. You're not going to get graded. Look at all these 2s. Look at all these 2s. Look at all these brilliant people. Okay, of course it's 2. This is about the well-being advantage. It wouldn't make sense if I was giving a talk and all I was saying, hey guys, you want to be happy? Just work really hard and be successful. So you are correct. Happiness makes you successful is even stronger than success makes you happy. Now, it is true, and we've probably all experienced it. We get a job, we get a raise, we get a good grade, whatever it is, we feel good, we're successful, but that doesn't last as long as the effect of happiness on success. The effect of happiness on success is actually longer, meaning the happier you are, it has a long-term effect on how successful you are. So sort of the old model that a lot of us were raised in, right? We're all in sort of a capitalist Western society. Many of us came from that. Work hard, and then you'll be successful, and then you can be happy. Now, the positive psychology people will say, well, actually, if you choose happiness, which means choosing to do the things that make you happy, choosing to take the actions that make you happy. And a couple of those I will tell you about today, so you won't be like, oh, what things do make me happy? I know some, but is there more I could do? So choosing happiness means actually making the choice to avoid the things that make you miserable and to choose the things that make you happy, or actually do them, focus them, give it time, give it energy. That actually makes your brain work better. Lots of research has shown this. This is for real. And when your brain is working better because you're happier, you make better decisions, you do better work, and that makes you more successful. So that's also true. It turns out they're both true. And it's actually a circle that reinforces each other, that reinforces that the factors can actually go in both directions. So if you work hard, you will become successful. That's true. If you choose happiness, your brain will work better, and therefore you won't necessarily work harder, but you'll work more effectively. So I would actually say that square that says work hard should be work more effectively. You can get more done in less time and make better quality decisions if you're taking care of your happiness and well-being. And that makes you more successful. But then if you're successful and rich and famous and you think, okay, well, now I'm done. No. You still need to take the actions that make you happy. You need to keep doing it, and that'll help your brain work better. You'll still have to work, but that work will lead to more success. This doesn't mean if you just bliss out, eat chocolate, go to the beach, never do your homework, and never show up for work, you're going to be successful. No, you need to both work hard and work on your happiness. So you kind of got to do both. You got to put in the work, but you also got to put in the effort to make yourself happier. So I already kind of said that. So we're going to talk about what it means to choose happiness today. But first, I want to demonstrate that happiness increases your success, not just because you guessed it correctly, and most of you did. Yay, class, yay, team, yay, audience. All right, tell me, 1, if you first think the first thing is true, and 2, if you think the second thing is true. And this is for you. So it's not the right answer, it's the right answer for you. You're looking to hire an employee. Two equally qualified employees apply. One seems happier, the other seems not so happy. Would you rather hire number one, happy person, or number two, sad person? Most people would rather hire a happy person, all things being equal. Okay. Who would you rather work for? Would you rather have a boss who's generally cheerful and upbeat, or a boss who seems to be grumpy and sad most of the time? One, if you want a happy boss. Two, if you want a sad boss. Three, if you don't care. Generally, people want a happier boss. And they generally want a happy coworker. Put one if you'd rather have a coworker who's not your boss. They're kind of the same level as you. They don't work for you. You don't work for them. They're just a coworker. Would you rather have happier coworkers or sadder coworkers? One if it's happy, two if it's sad. And as usual, happy generally wins that contest. If you're a VC and you're going to give money and there's two founders, you don't have enough money to fund both of these startups. And they're both kind of cool ideas, but one of them, the person who's running the company just seemed really cheerful and upbeat. And the other one, he was just as smart and the idea and the company were just as good, but he just seemed kind of down. Who would you rather fund? The happy founder of a company or the sad founder? Okay, so even for entrepreneurs, it might pay to be happy because happiness wins. Okay, and then finally, and this isn't really work related, but hey, you got to have a life. Would you rather have a romantic relationship with a happy person or a sad person? Right? One, if you want to be with a happy person, two, for a sad person. Absolutely. So this is the great news. What we're going to talk about and the act of choosing to do the things that make you happier don't just make you better to work with, better to work for, better to hire, better to have in your organization. They also make you sexier, or at least more appealing for a romantic relationship. So I didn't advertise it as the well-being advantage in romance, but it even affects that. So it's all good. All right, I'm going to quote some really smart people who've done research on this. I'm certainly not the only one. And this person is Sean Anker. He's written some good books. The Happiness Advantage is the famous one. When we are happy, and by the way, he's from Harvard. He got his PhD and his postdoc at Harvard. When we are happy, when our mindset and mood are positive, we are smarter, more motivated, and thus more successful. And that's a quote directly from the Happiness Advantage. When we are happy, we look for opportunities and solutions rather than barriers and problems. And when you're looking for opportunities, you see them. When you're looking for problems, that's what you see. So there you go. That's from me, by the way. That's not from Sean. Okay. Lots of research out there. Happy workers help their colleagues 33% more. 31%, they're 31% more likely to achieve their goals. This is from a book by Sri Kumar Rao. I think I pronounced it correctly. He's a professor in New York. Happier people get more job interviews, get better jobs with more autonomy, meaning, and variety. That sounds great. They show superior job performance and productivity. They are more likely to get promoted. They're better at managerial jobs. I think we know the grumpy manager is not the manager you generally want to work for. They run organizations that are more productive and more profitable. That sounds like they should be investing in our happiness if they want us to be profitable. They make more money themselves, and the organizations they work for also are profitable. So if the people in an organization are happy, all things being equal, and they're also doing their job, that organization is going to be much more successful than one where they're also working, but they're not happy to be there. And that is based on research, not just me. So should companies want happier people? Should they invest in making their employees happier? Absolutely. Happier people are less likely to resign, which is a nightmare when people resign on short notice and you're trying to replace them. They're less likely to quiet quit, which is when you show up to work, but you just do the bare minimum. You don't really care about anything except keeping your job, and you just do the bare minimum. Happier people are less likely to miss work due to illness. They're less likely to procrastinate on important tasks. Happier people are more collaborative. They are much better team players. They are more productive. In the same amount of hours, they get more done. They're also more creative. They're more loyal to the organization. They won't be looking for a better job, and they won't be doing things that maybe aren't so good for their company or their organization. And they're more pleasant to work with, and they're more pleasant to work for, and they're more pleasant to supervise. So no matter what level in the organization, you want your people to be happy. So if you want to be successful, either as an individual or as an organization, we need to work on happiness of ourselves, of our coworkers, of the organizations we work for, and the individuals in them. So I'm going to give you an in-class activity that's not about the big question of what's the connection between happiness and being successful, because you all got that from the beginning. And I could see that you'd rather work with, work for, and date someone happier. So I've already convinced you of that. But now I want you to start thinking about what could you do to be even happier than you are now, regardless of where you are. And what's really important, the tools I'm going to tell you about, they aren't going to make you happy all the time. Nobody's happy all the time. That's not a realistic goal. If you expect to be happy all the time, you're not going to be happy, because every time you're sad, you're going to be, what? I'm not happy. What? This is supposed to happen. We're all going to be sad sometimes. We're all going to be disappointed, grumpy, frustrated, angry, whatever. Those things happen. These exercises make you happier more often for longer, and they make the negative emotions not last as long, not be as intense, and not be as frequent. So wherever you are in the happiness world of generally just super happy, generally not very happy, if you're doing these types of things that I'm going to talk about, it'll lift you from where you are to a happier level most of the time. It doesn't mean when something sad happens, you're going to be fine, because sad things are hard. It just allows you to buffer the hard times and truly appreciate the good times and enjoy them more. Okay, so what I'm going to have you do, it's going to sound like it's not about happiness, but I promise soon you'll know what it has to do with happiness. This is actually an attention and memory test. And let's see who in the room has a good memory. I'm kind of going to be testing you, but you're not going to be graded. Okay, so it would be nice if you would turn your cameras on for this portion, but I'm not going to force you to. But it's kind of cool if you do, not critical, but cool if you do. Okay, follow the instructions. I want you to look around the room that you're in, and even on the computer screen, look at the computer screen, because there's some people on there. And I want you to notice everything in the room that you're in. And if you're near a window, look outside the window. I'm near a window. Everything outside the window and in the room you're in, and on the screen that is brown. It can be any shade of brown, dark brown, light brown, any shade of brown. But I want you to pay attention to everything in the room you're in, through the window. If there's multiple windows, I actually have 2 windows, through the windows, and on the screen, because there's a lot of people and a lot of color. And notice everything you can that's brown, and try to remember that. And again, I don't care if it's light brown, dark brown, as long as you call it brown or brownish, it counts. And I want you to take another minute to do that. And then I'm going to tell you to close your eyes. Yep, close your eyes. So after you've kind of gotten a grasp of that, close your eyes. Again, you're not going to be graded on this, but I want you to close your eyes. And I'm looking at you guys, and I'm seeing a lot of closed eyes, guys and gals. Closing your eyes. Okay, by the way, if you can see the screen and it says, if you're reading this, you're not closing your eyes, so close them. Okay, with your eyes closed, I want you to try to remember everything you saw through the window, in the room you're in, on the screen, wherever you were able to look just in the last few minutes, that was green. Yeah, that's a trick, because I didn't ask you to do green before. Without opening your eyes, I want you to try to remember everything that you just saw in your room, on the screen, through the windows, if you're near a window, that was green, not brown. And now I want you to try to remember everything that you saw that was blue. Again, that's not what I asked you to do when your eyes were open. That's what I'm asking you to try to remember with your eyes closed. And now I want you to open your eyes and look around in the room that you're in, through the windows, on the screen, and let me know in the chat, are there a bunch of green and blue things that you couldn't remember when you closed your eyes, but they were actually right in front of you, either in the room, through the window, on the Zoom screen? Let me know yes or no. Yes, there were things that I just didn't remember. And no, I remember. If you remembered all of it, say no. Okay, this is normal. Now, if I had asked you to remember all the things that are brown when your eyes were closed, you would have done a better job, because we notice what we focus on. If you look for brown, you see brown. If you look for blue, you notice the blue. If you look for yellow, you notice the yellow. We notice the things that we look for. Okay, We're not going to talk about how that ties into happiness because I've got 2 more exercises that are going to make kind of a similar point, and then we're going to talk about it. Okay, so here's a focus task. Some of you may have done this before. I just want you to follow the instructions. All you need to do is count. They're going to tell you this at the beginning. You're going to count the number of times a person wearing a certain color shirt, and he'll tell you what color, passes a ball. And you're just going to count that, and then we're going to put in the chat what the number is when they tell you to.
This is a test of selective attention. Count how many times the players wearing white pass the basketball. How many passes did you count?
Okay, let me know in the chat how many passes you counted of people wearing a white shirt passing a basketball. Let me know in the chat. And again, I'm not going to shame you if you don't get the number right. I got the number wrong the first time I did it. You've all got different numbers. It's all good. Okay, now he's going to ask you another question. And I want you to say yes or no if you notice this thing, which I will tell you, if you didn't notice what he's about to ask, if you noticed, over 90% of the people, the first time they see this video, do not notice this, including me.
The correct answer is 15 passes.
Very few people get it right.
But did you see the gorilla?
Yes or no, did you see the gorilla? Let me know in the chat. There was a gorilla, literally a gorilla in the room. Okay, so that's another kind of an example that if you're looking for something like people in white shirts passing balls, you'll notice that. If I'd said to a room full of people who never saw that video, tell me if you see a gorilla, everyone would see the gorilla, even people who weren't really paying attention. Some of you did see the gorilla. Some of you didn't see the gorilla. Some of you may have seen this video before because it's pretty popular. But most people, the first time they see it, they do see the gorilla because they're looking for a white shirt passing the ball, and that's what they're counting, and they don't notice that gorilla. Literally a man doing this in a gorilla suit, kind of unusual. Okay, one more, and then we'll discuss what the heck does this have to do with happiness and well-being? Michelle, why are you making us watch all this? Okay, this is going to be a little clip from the Ellen DeGeneres show. This is not about looking. So you're not looking for colors. You're not looking at balls. You're going to be listening. So listen carefully to what Ellen has to say and follow her instructions.
I'm going to play a clip. Listen carefully to this. All right, now I'm going to play a different clip.
The juice of lemons makes fine punch.
Now I'm going to play the first clip you heard. It's like a horror movie, isn't it? Clearly you could hear the juice.
Okay, it's not like a horror movie. It's another example that if you're listening for something, you're going to hear it. So how many people, let me know in the chat, and most people, this is one we're really not going to. How many people heard the juice of lemons makes fine punch the first time she played the recording? And it is the same recording. Say yes or no. No. Nobody I know has ever heard it the first time. How many of you heard it the second time after she'd played the person saying it? Yeah. Okay. So when you're listening for something, you hear it. When you're looking for a color, you see it. When you're looking for gorillas or looking for white shirts, ball passing, that's what you notice. So I have a question. For the sake of experiencing happiness, can anyone volunteer? You can raise your hand. Or if you don't want to raise your hand, you can just go into the chat and say me, or just me, M-E. I'll know you're volunteering. Can anyone tell me, for the sake of experiencing happiness, what can we learn from the exercises we just did with gorilla and juices of lemons and remembering colors? Does anyone want to volunteer to take a guess what it has to do with happiness? Just write me, or if somebody raises their hand, I don't see anyone raising their hand. Nobody wants to guess. Nobody wants to guess. Okay, let me give you a little hint. How can we apply the power of focus to becoming happy? Oh, wait, I see someone in the chat. Oh, okay. Andrea has an answer. And Sarah has her hand up. So Sarah, I think we're going to ask you to unmute yourself if that's okay. Rob is going to unmute you or give you permission to show yourself and share. And Andrea shared awareness.
I was going to say looking for a positive, specifically looking for a positive.
Right. So if we look for positives, we notice positives. If I wake up in the morning and say, God, let me make a list of all the things I'm dreading about this day. Oh God, I can't believe this. I'm not going to be happy. If I wake up in the morning and say, what are the things I'm looking forward to? That's what's going through my brain. And what goes through your brain affects your mood. If you love the color blue, you should look for blue. So what we focus on is what we experience. So given that, what would be something you could do on a regular basis that would get you in the habit of shifting your attention away from the things that make you miserable and towards the things that make you happier? Does anyone have any ideas for that? Let me know in the chat. You can either suggest something or just say you want to share. Gratitude practice. Thank you, Julie. Yep. This is something a lot of people do. And I have to tell you, the first time I heard, oh, that's another one, manifestation, but it's gratitude, manifestation too. But this particular thing is about gratitude. The first time someone said, make a gratitude list for 1 week every day, I thought stupid, but okay, I'll do it because science says it works. Tons of research. By the way, this is robust. This is college students, elderly, children, every ethnicity, every nationality, every gender, religion. Doesn't matter if you're super sick, super healthy, super rich, super poor, or somewhere in between on the spectrum. This tends to work for most people most of the time. Gratitude lists. Every time I teach a happiness course, this is one of the homework assignments. The students are like, oh, do we have to do it every day? And then they come back after a week of doing it. Oh my God, I loved it. And then 5 years later, I get students going, guess what I still do every day? So this stuff works. This is gratitude lists. Gratitude lists, gratitude lists. So there's lots of ways you can employ gratitude lists, but the most commonly researched thing would be, by the way, a good time to start doing this is now. I'm gonna get to the instructions, but I like this quote. I saw it on a magnet. Stop being afraid of what could go wrong. Focus on what could go right. And when you wake up in the morning, don't focus on what you're dreading. Focus on what you're grateful for. Okay, so I'm going to have you do these in the chat, but I'm going to give you some instructions to make your gratitude list more effective. Because what I learned teaching this was if I asked students to write a gratitude list in my class, whether it's adults or younger, I mean, they're all adults, right? But whether it's students in their 50s or in their 20s or in their teens, this is what almost all of them say. My health, my friends, my family. My family, my friends, my health. Different order, but those are usually the three things everyone says. The problem with that is kind of vague. Who in your family? Now, obviously, you might love all your family. You might be grateful for every aspect of your health, and you might love all your friends. But if you want this to be really impactful, you have to be specific, right? You have to really think about, doesn't mean you don't love all your friends. One specific friend you're particularly grateful for today, one family member, one aspect of your health, or it could be something that's not related to friends, family, and health, even though those are really important things. And my research, this is my own research, specific, a lot of people have studied, but my own research suggests that because it can be hard to come up with new things every day, it can be hard, it'll help you a lot and get you a lot more excited about your life if you can have at least one of those things be what I call small. So what do I mean by small? I don't mean it has to be little, like I am grateful for cells, right? I'm grateful for amoebas. No, that's not what I mean. Small means something you wouldn't necessarily tell your friends. You wouldn't believe this, but today I ate a peach. It was amazing. It was juicy. Isn't that awesome? People would be like, cool, yeah, you ate a peach. But if you think about it, peaches are awesome. They taste great. They're beautiful. They smell good. They're good for us. They're juicy. They're natural. The seed is compostable. Peaches are awesome. So that's what I mean by small things. Socks, clean socks. I know it's silly because I do put on clean socks every day, sometimes more than once a day if I go to the gym. But when I put on clean socks lately, I'm like, isn't it great that I have clean socks? Wouldn't it suck if I didn't have clean socks? So you can get excited about small things. One of my favorite small things, by the way, is bananas. You don't have to love bananas. but I get really excited about bananas. They are affordable. The peel is compostable. I'm a very messy person. If I want to eat a healthy orange or apple, the apple, I have to wash it. The orange, I make a mess. It's all over me. It's a disaster. I don't need a spoon. I don't need wrapping. I just take that banana, I peel it, I eat it. It doesn't make a mess. I take that peel, I compost it. I feel good. It's yellow. It changes color. It's a fun shape. Bananas are amazing. You can freeze them. You can bake them. You can put them in things. Smoothies. Bananas are amazing. And most people don't say, God, I had the best day today. I hate a banana. But if you actually take the time to appreciate how amazing a banana is, you can get happy about bananas. And if you don't like bananas, find something else. Clean sheets, whatever it is. Okay, so I want each of you to come up with 3 specific things. There are no right answers or wrong answers here. I mean, there are right answers. There are no wrong answers. If it makes you happy, I don't have to like it. If the thing that makes you, one of the 3 things is the color hot pink, that's great because it's your happiness list. So I want you to each go in the chat and write 3 specific things that make you happy. So not my family, but a family member, or not a family member, maybe something else. Hairbrushes, glasses, toothpaste, whatever it is. Ginger chamomile tea, just because I have a box of it near me. Oh, can't show it. All right, it's not working with the virtual screen. Whatever it is for you. 3 things. I want at least one of them to be small and all 3 of them to be specific. And I want to see some action in the chat because we're doing it. We're applying the research to what we're doing here. So come up with 3 things, share it with everybody that make you happy. Oh, I love this. Puzzles, the color green, and music. Fantastic. Everybody else? Donuts. Oh, I'm seeing a lot of things. Cats, containers, art supply. I'm not going to read it all because it's a lot. Water, cats, sleep. When your son is excited about dinner, holding hands. This makes me happy all to read all these things. Communication leads to openness. Containers, art supplies, storage for auction. My daughter, drip coffee in my local coffee shop, the color blue. Oh, someone gave me more than 3. That's great. English breakfast tea because, oh, that's wonderful. Okay, these are beautiful, and I'm not going to read them all because we don't have enough time, but I encourage everyone who's here to look, hiking, all the things that make us happy. And the interesting thing is when you share it with other people, it actually makes me happy. I hate grading homework as a professor, every kind of homework except happiness homework. When I read people's happiness homework, including their gratitude list, it makes me happy. It makes me think, oh my gosh, that's a wonderful thing. Even if the person's happy about something I don't even have, I'm happy that they're happy, if that makes sense. Other people's happiness is a little bit contagious or a lot contagious, depending on your personality. But generally, your happiness makes the people around you happy. So sharing what makes you happy will tend to make people happy, especially if they like you and care about you. So it's a great thing to share with people you love. If you want this to be effective, do it every day for a week and notice the effect it has on you. It's going to be even more effective if you write it down, which we all did, and if you share it with others. So you can put it in a journal. You can share it with your best friend. You can start a gratitude group and post there. I have Facebook groups for each of my classes, and they post in the Facebook group, and everyone really enjoys reading everybody else's. But it makes you happier if you do it regularly, if you write it down, and if you share it with others. And if you don't do all those 3, whatever, any of that is good. So either with a journal or out loud with a friend or however you want to do it, but get in the habit. Now, this is an important thing. A lot of people say, well, I just made a gratitude list. It didn't do anything for me. So I guess not. So how many of you people believe that if I go to the gym today and I haven't been to the gym for 2 years and I go lift really heavy weights, that I'm going to be muscular and I'm going to be strong and I'm going to feel good about it? No. Because if you want to build muscle, you have to keep exercising. If I want to get good at walking distances, I can't just walk 20 miles one day and then never walk more than 2 blocks for the rest of my life and be fit. You got to keep it up. And happiness muscles, this is something I was going to say later, but I'm going to say now, happiness muscles are a lot like our physical muscles, even though there aren't literally happiness muscles. You have to realize that for this to work, you have to keep doing it. And if you keep doing it, it becomes more effective. Just like if you're lifting weights regularly, you will see results. But if you stop for a year, those results go away. So this is one of those things. It works if it's a habit. It works if you keep working it. So that's tool number 1. Specific things, do this daily, share or write it down. It'll be even more effective. Okay. The other thing that's kind of obvious, there's a lot of happiness tools, but I'm going to remind you of some things you might already know make you happy and just encourage you to try to incorporate these into your life as much as you can. And these are all things that research shows makes people happier, not just in the short run, but in the long run. So you can think beer makes me happy, but drinking too much beer is probably going to make you maybe happy while you're drinking the beer, but not so happy the next morning. Again, eating gallons of Haagen-Dazs while you stay up all night watching Netflix could be super fun. But in the long run, if you're doing that, you're not going to be happy. You're not going to feel good the next day. You're not going to feel overall good if that's your regular thing. So when I talk about the things that make us happier or self-care, I'm talking about things that are good for us in the short run, meaning we enjoy them, and also good for us in the long run, meaning they either have no effect on our health or a long-term positive effect on our health. So not kegs of beer, not Netflix all night. Once in a while, it's okay to do that. I can't say I've never done that, but not a good thing for long-term happiness. Okay, and it's really important what I'm about to state is some people will tell me, well, I just feel like self-care is selfish. Like people are always worried about taking care of themselves and making time to take care of themselves. That's kind of selfish. But the thing is, happiness is contagious. We already talked about the fact we'd rather work for someone happy, we'd rather work with someone happy. That's because happier people are kinder. They're more pleasant to be around. So when we take care of ourselves, when we take care of our happiness and well-being, we're taking care of the people we spend the most time with, because the happier we are, the more pleasant we will be to be with them and the more effective we'll be as mothers, as teachers, as doctors, as dentists, as librarians, as plumbers, as students, whatever it is, team members. So self-care is not selfish at all because happiness is contagious. And if people care about you and they see you miserable, it don't make them happy. So the people who care about us the most have the most to gain from us investing in our happiness and well-being. So it's not selfish. So think about this as something, if you don't want to do it for you, do it for the people who you spend the most time with and the people who care about you. Because I don't know about you, and I know some of you may have seen me sometimes when I'm grumpy. When I'm not happy, I'm not as kind. Most people are kinder when they're happier. And research shows it's not just me, it's people in general. And emotions are contagious. Again, I already said that. So fill your own cup first. There's this whole thing, if your cup is empty, you won't have it to give. And we all know every time we fly, they say, in the event of an emergency, the mask's going to come down. Put the mask on your face first and then help the people that you have to take care of, the children or the seniors or the disabled. Because if you don't have the mask, you're going to pass out. You're not going to be able to take care of them. So even if a plane is not coming down really quickly, if you're exhausted and you come home to a family, or if I'm in a grumpy mood and I have a room full of students who come to office hours with questions, or whatever it is, whoever you are, whatever you do, if you take care of yourself, you will have more energy to take care of everybody else that you need to take care of. So fill your own cup first, whatever it is that makes you happy. And for different people, it's different. So again, self-care, which I want you to commit to doing every day, not just a gratitude list, but some other kind of self-care, although gratitude lists can be self-care. Something that you enjoy in the short run and that's good for you, or at least not bad for you in the long run. Okay, so exercise, we know this. It's good for our body. It's good for our brain. It's good for our mood. But research has shown, shocking new research has shown, that our heads are actually connected to the rest of our body by something called the neck. And the neck connects to the chest, which connects to the stomach. It's all connected. It's shocking. Okay, that's not research. That's something you probably figured out when you were 2. But what that means is when we're taking care of our emotions, it actually can improve our digestion. Yeah, it improves our thinking, right? So your body, your brain, your mood, they're all interconnected. And physical exercise, it turns out it's not just good for the body, it's good for the brain. When you exercise, students who exercise perform better on exams. They give better presentations. I actually didn't go to the gym today, so I don't know what that means, but I did go last night. So hopefully I'm still doing a good job. But exercise actually makes us perform better in cognitive tasks that use our brain because our brain is connected to our body. They put us in a better mood. They increase our serotonin and our dopamine, and that puts us in a better mood. So we're kinder. So all those things are connected, and physical exercise ends up being obviously good for your body. We all know that. but also good for your mood and also good for your intelligence. So exercise is a great example, but it has to be something you like. If you hate going to the gym and lifting weights is not your self-care. You can still do it, but find something that you enjoy. Maybe with music or with your friend, you'll enjoy that weightlifting that you didn't enjoy. But if your thing is stretching or yoga or whatever it is, walking by yourself, with others, with music, without music, with a audible book, whatever it is, an audio book, whatever it is that makes you happy, if you can get yourself to do it, that's huge. Time in nature. I have a friend who said, I hate nature. I hate nature. But she's a researcher and she read all these studies about nature and she's just like, okay, I'm going for a hike. Will you come with me? I hate hikes. And I'm like, okay. And I went, well, this is a few years ago and we went on a hike and she's like, oh, this is amazing. I realize I like trees. Look at the rabbit. Oh my God, this is awesome. There's no mosquitoes here. I don't even see any. This is fun, right? So nature is something we're naturally attracted to. I have two cats. Any of you who have animals know your animals, cats like to, if they're not indoor, outdoor, and they're just indoor like mine, they always go to the window. They go to the open window, they sit by that window, and they spend their day eating, drinking, playing, and looking out the window. And if they're outdoor, they want to go out. And there isn't a dog that doesn't get excited, as long as they're not injured, by the opportunity to go outside. Animals get that the outdoors are good for us. In Japan, there's something called forest bathing. And when people are depressed or physically ill in a way that they believe emotion is part of it, they will prescribe a trip out into the woods to spend time with nature as a medical treatment that their insurance covers, because the research shows it's extremely effective without the side effect of medication. It doesn't mean if you're on some sort of medication, drop your medication, go out in the woods. It means this is a way to enhance your mood. And it's effective based on scientific research, and other countries are starting to do it as well. There was also a study in the United States. People who were hospitalized, one of the things they couldn't understand that predicted how quickly they got better and how well they did after surgery or after they were released from the hospital was whether they were in a room with a window. And the strongest positive effect was if their window faced some kind of nature. I don't mean it has to be an ocean view like the one I have in my fake screen in the back, my virtual background. It could be a picture. It could just not even a picture. It could be trees. It could be just anything that's nature. It could even be trees in a building. But if there's some aspect of nature and some sunlight, people healed faster than if they just had some sunlight but no nature. And if they had no window, they had the worst results. So one thing to know is that can apply to us even if we're not in the hospital. Also, if a loved one is in the hospital and they're going to be there for a while, try to get them a room with a window filling nature. But if they can't, if they're in a room with no windows, get them a plant. Bring a plant, bring some flowers into their room, because that has the same effect. If they can see nature and it's not through a window, it's in a plant, that also has a positive effect on their mood. So even if the hospital isn't cooperating, you can get some good results there. And I'm seeing, shower, sunshine, daughter's laugh. I'm still reading Gratitude's List. Okay, so that is a very interesting study, which has, I think, implications not just for when we're ill, but also for when we're healthy and we're trying to stay ill. So time out in nature, obviously exercise in nature is particularly good. Just going for a walk, it doesn't have to be a run, super effective. You can be in a group, you can be by yourself, totally fine to do it by yourself. If you actually take time to celebrate nature while you're doing, you don't have to do what she's doing, but that's kind of a nice thing. If you're not in good enough shape to go for a walk, just going out and appreciating the birds, sitting outside for a while, and noticing what's beautiful and what's natural has a very positive effect on your well-being. Seniors who spend time outdoors live longer and have less chronic illness and manage to sort of deal with chronic illness much better than those who are indoors all the time. Okay, the other thing that's enormous is community, friendships, whether it's family, friends, it doesn't have to be romantic. It can even be with our pets. Real connections with others, be they human or otherwise, is actually the number one thing for happiness. The US Surgeon General has actually said that loneliness is now the new smoking. It's an epidemic. COVID made it worse. Many of us spent so much time alone, we kind of got in the habit of being alone. and we haven't really gotten back to socializing as much as we did before COVID. But even beyond that, just spending time alone sometimes is good for us. We need some solitude. That's perfectly healthy and normal. We need our alone time, at least many people do. But it's also really important to have community. And that has to be people that you really care about, who care about you, or at least you enjoy their company and they enjoy your company. And the Surgeon General is actually focusing as a major factor in both mental and physical health is getting people in community, and getting people to have social relationships and make time for that. So eating together, even if you're eating with a friend, if you're a student and you're eating with someone in the dorms as a family, that can be huge. Bonus if you're eating outdoors, doesn't have to be. There was also a Harvard study, by the way. They wanted to predict what would determine how healthy and happy people were going to be. And they studied Harvard undergraduates, and I think they followed them for like 50 years. It was a long study. And they looked at all these factors like whether they came from wealthy families, what was their GPA, what was their first job, what profession did they go into, and nothing was as effective as did they have strong social ties with family or friends. It didn't have to be family, but they had to have strong, close relationships. And if they didn't have any, if they were lonely and alone, they didn't live as long, they didn't do as well professionally, and they tended to be much more depressed, much less successful. And sadly, they didn't live as long. And if they were living with chronic illness. They were not very healthy. So when you have community, it actually has a lot of effects on you, both in the short term and the long term. It actually affects obviously your emotional health, but also your physical health. So doing stuff with nature, being with others, really important. I said that animals love to be outdoors. Animals love to be with other animals. Some of them love to be with us too. But you see it, the bear family, right? The deer hanging out together. You don't see a lone deer that often. And if you do, they're probably looking for other deer, or maybe maybe they're looking for other deer. They are in herds. This picture is a little more rare, but I have a bonded pair of cats. Dogs love to go to the park and play with other dogs. And there's a reason for that. It's naturally better for us to be in community, whether we're human or fluffy. Another thing that's been shown to make us happier is helping others. Well, maybe I have to. Okay, I'm going to show it, and maybe we won't have time for questions. Okay, helping others. Helping others makes us happier for a lot of reasons. There's something called warm glow. It's the feeling we get when we made someone else happier. It just makes us feel good. Even if nobody else knows, even if they don't know, we know and we feel good. It also improves self-esteem. People like to see themselves as kind. So when they perform acts of kindness, it makes their self-concept more positive. Oh, I'm a good person. Look at me. I'm doing a good thing. And of course, there's also the fact that when people see you do a good thing, they think you're nice and they like you, and that can help you socially as well. So lots of benefits. I'm going to share a video with you. I hope it'll work. This one went viral. It was actually a Thai commercial for insurance, but even though you don't speak the language, it's all music and visual, but it actually illustrates the joy of helping others. Here we go.
เขาจะได้อะไรถ้าเขาทำแบบนี้ทุกวันเขาจะไม่ได้อะไรเลยไม่ได้รวยขึ้น ไม่ได้ออกทีวี ไม่มีใครรู้จัก ไม่ได้มีชื่อเสียงที่มากขึ้น เพราะสิ่งที่เขาได้ คือได้แค่ความรู้สึก ได้เห็นความสุข ได้เข้าใจ ได้ความรัก ได้ในสิ่งที่เงินซื้อไม่ได้ ได้โลกที่สวยงามกว่าเดิม ในชีวิตคุณ อะไรคือสิ่งที่คุณต้องการมากที่สุด
ไทยประกันชีวิตเชื่อในความดี
I'm sure there were some of you who've never seen this video before, and when that little girl was missing, we're just like, this is supposed to be about happiness. But I have to be honest, I've seen this a dozen times, and every time that little girl shows up dressed for school that had previously been begging, my eyes water quite a bit. So that's a warm glow video, even though it was for insurance. And it's been viewed millions of times. It's been posted in many locations, and some of them have over 5 million views. And there's a reason for that. We actually enjoy not only doing good, but even seeing other people do good and realizing and being reminded how much benefit it actually has, not just for the people being helped, but for the people doing the helping. So lots of beauty there. There's also the gut-brain connection. Our stomach makes serotonin. Sorry, I'm going to talk about food now. Sorry, changing the topic. So be kind to others, spend time in nature, make gratitude lists, take time for self-care, spend time in community, exercise, and also eat well. I know that's not so fun for people, but our stomachs make serotonin, and we have to feed it the right stuff. So more natural and less processed food when you can. You don't have to be perfect all the time, but it actually leads to better digestion. And it turns out a lot of serotonin, which is the happy chemical, right? That's what so many antidepressants give us. We make that ourselves. And when we're eating healthy, we actually end up with a happier gut, and a happier gut is a happier you. Sleep. Okay, this is the one where I get a really bad score. I've gotten so much better over the years, because when I teach this stuff, I start to, okay, I guess I better be doing it. And I have improved a lot. But sleep is really important. One of the most important things is to sleep regularly at the same time whenever possible. So if you're staying up until 4 in the morning every other night and going to bed at 7 p.m. some nights, that's not good. Our body likes that regular eating more or less at the same time, sleeping more or less at the same time, etc. First thing when you wake up, there's research out of Stanford. If you get exposed to sunlight early in the morning, even just through a window, it actually kind of helps you wake up and sets you up for a happier day. If you can't, you can't, but if you can get some sunlight, it helps. Even rain light or cloud light, natural light, even on a dark, cloudy, rainy day, you'd be surprised there's still light, unless it's pitch black, dark when you wake up in the morning, which, you know, in the winter it can be depending on when you wake up. But if you get some natural sunlight, even if it's through clouds and through rain, it can actually improve not just your health, but also your happiness and how well you sleep at night. That's what some research has shown. But sleep's important. We need to make time for it. I think historically Americans were a culture of do, go, work, party, and sleep, nah. But it turns out sleep is really important for just about every aspect of our emotional health and our physical health, which again are connected. Another thing that brings happiness is creative pursuits. And for different people, it might be poetry, music, dancing, any way that you like to express yourself and be creative. Journaling and just sharing your thoughts or writing a silly poem or a story about what happened to you, fiction or real, it doesn't have to be real. Those things also make people happier. Some people, they need it to be happy. Some people, not so much. But this is one of the things that makes people happy, a lot of people. And obviously music, I think we all know it. I do know there's some students who are playing music all the time because I see them in the gym doing this, right? I see them on campus walk into class. Sometimes I see them in class at the start of class where I'm doing this because they're still listening to music. But music is amazing. You can do music to accompany any kind of work you're doing. If you need to go fast, upbeat music, slower music, otherwise. But it just tends to make people happy, and finding the music you love and listening to it as often as possible with others, by yourself, dancing, or just sitting and listening, all good. Underused for happiness, and something I always try to get, I dance at the start of each of my classes and I dance during the break. I have music. I don't look as ridiculous as I look right now. I always play really good dance music. I let the students pick music. I try to be a good, effective, happy DJ, happy music DJ. Really hard. Some sections, the whole class dances, cameras on, it's a blast. Some sections they don't. But the students who start dancing with or without their cameras on say, oh my gosh, when you told me don't dance to look good, dance to feel good, I got a lot more comfortable dancing and I'm a better dancer. I really like dancing now because I don't care what I look like. And it turns out I've actually gone, I used to dance a lot. I used to go to these dance events, and every now and then you'd see someone who has no rhythm whatsoever and really objectively isn't a good dancer, but they're having so much fun that everyone enjoys watching them. And if someone looks like they're thinking about all the steps and doing it perfectly, it's not as fun to watch them and it's not as fun to be them. So dancing like nobody's looking, when nobody's looking, alone in your living room or wherever you want to dance, that is really good for the mind, the soul, etc. And of course, meditating. I think a lot of people feel a lot of pressure, like, oh God, I should be meditating, or I'm not good at meditating. I suck at meditating. That's not what meditating's for. It's not something you get good at to be good at it. Meditating can be micro-meditating too. Research by psychologists and neuroscientists shows that this has enormous benefits, not just for things like helping us relax and helping us sleep, but helping us study, etc. But some people can meditate for hours, and some people, the most they can do is just close their eyes, take in a deep breath, slowly exhale, and maybe do that 3 times. That counts too, because it's shifting your focus. If you can focus on your breath, take deeper breaths, inhale through your nose, ideally, exhale either through your nose or mouth, whichever is more comfortable. If you have a cold, inhale through your mouth. Those short micro deep breaths and imagining you're somewhere beautiful or just imagining nothing, just sort of focusing, imagining there's fish swimming by or that you're looking at clouds or focusing on clouds, it can actually have an amazing effect, especially if you tend to experience stress and anxiety at a high level. And just so you know, meditation is not just for hippies. Meditation is not just for people like you and me. Oh, I don't have my pictures yet. I will show you some celebrities who meditate in a minute. It's not at a competitive sport. It's not something you should beat yourself up for not doing it right. Even 1 or 2 minutes, I just said this, of deep breathing and focusing on your breath can have a huge effect. So here are some famous people. Oh, let me know in the chat. Sorry. Let me know in the chat, yes or no. Have you meditated or do you meditate? Even occasionally, like rarely or often or never, whatever it is. Yes, no, or you can even tell me how often. Oh, I got a lot of meditators in the room. Not everybody, but a lot of you. It's gotten much more common. And again, the wonderful thing for me is you can go on YouTube and just do a search for sounds of the ocean, sounds of the forest, sounds of rain, whatever sounds you like, right? Sounds of waves. And you can just get hours of amazing music of nature. It's not, you can get it with music or just nature sounds. And I can just close my eyes. If I'm having problems falling asleep, I listen to the ocean. I imagine I'm on a beach. I'm gone. I'm meditating, and very quickly I'm asleep, and usually I have a great dream about being on the beach. So even if you're just visualizing, that counts as well. And it's a delicious gift you give yourself. Okay, here's some famous people who meditate. Barack Obama, Bill Gates, Ariana Huffington, Richard Branson, Oprah, Beyonce. So pretty amazing people meditate. It's not just hippy dippy yogis, even though hippy dippy yogis are wonderful as well. So some reminders of things we can do to be happier that much research has shown works for almost everyone most of the time. Gratitude lists, if you do them regularly, physical exercise, whatever you enjoy, do it carefully, don't injure yourself. Authentic, positive social interaction, spending time with people you care about who care about you, community, or even just a close connection with one or two people. Time in nature, even if you're just looking out the window, but even better if you're spending time in nature. Music that you like, dancing for the fun of it, not just to look good, helping others, meditation, and creative pursuits. These are all things that contribute to happiness. But what I'm about to tell you is really important. You are all individuals. And it turns out that milk may be good for some people, but I'm lactose intolerant. Dairy doesn't work for me. Some people absolutely love to listen to classical music. Other people don't like classical music, right? It's the same thing with what makes us happy. The research has shown that the things I've mentioned today, and quite a few other things I didn't have time for, tend to make most people happier most of the time. But some of these tools will be especially effective for some of you, and some of these tools that are not as effective for most people might have a big, that are very effective for most people may not be as effective for you. So you need to hack your own happiness. You need to do your own me search, which means finding out what has research shown tends to make people happier, and then noticing the effect it has on you. Keep track. Do a gratitude journal for a week. Spend time with friends and see how much that makes you happier. Start exercising. If a certain exercise doesn't make you happy, maybe change it up. Add some music. Do it with a friend. If the friend is nauseating you every time you go on a hike because she's hiking more and making you feel bad, hike alone. Figure out what makes you happier and do it. And just like there's research, this is called me search. I didn't come up with that term. It's Tal Ben-Shahar, who's a former Harvard professor who taught a happiness class at Harvard. I think he was one of the first to teach such a course. But I covered a few techniques that research shows make you happier. But remember, you are you. So do that me search. Keep track of the things that make you happy. Notice what doesn't work, and then adjust, just like we do with everything else. You might try a restaurant and order an entree that your friend loves and go, I don't really like the chicken cashew. I don't like it, but it's really good. Everybody loves it. Well, I don't like it. Okay, so you should try something else. And when you figure out what you love, you keep doing that. So it's very similar to other areas of our life. We need to do things like this to sort of work on our happiness, because humans are hardwired to look for the negative, especially gratitude lists are important. We're hardwired to worry because many centuries ago, there were lions and tigers and bears and all these existential threats all the time. And the humans that survived were the ones who were like, oh my God, we've got to prepare for the war, for the famine, for the bears, for the storms, whatever, for the quakes, whatever, the fires. I guess we still have fires. But today, that negativity bias still exists. And most of us, not all of us, depending on where you live and what your situation is, there's certainly people in the world that are an existential threat. We know that because we're aware of the news. But most of us right now, we don't have to worry that we might be murdered or, eaten or something like that in the next few hours or the next few days. And we're still wired to worry so much. And so we need to take the time and energy to focus on the positive and make time and energy and devote attention to the things that make us happier. And just worth knowing, some people have more of a negativity bias than others, either because they had personal trauma or intergenerational trauma. And some people are just wired to be more negative and they have to work harder at being positive. Those are the people that actually benefit the most from gratitude lists. And we can all change to some extent. So research has shown a lot of people have sort of a set point. They're generally about kind of not so happy, but not miserable, or they're very unhappy, or they're super happy, or they're pretty happy most of the time, whatever it is. But these are the types of things that whatever your set point is, it can raise that set point. It can raise the temperature of happiness inside of you. And I want you to think, one of the things I always tell my students, you can be a thermometer, which just reflects the environment and is either hot or cold, or you can be a thermostat That's the thing in your apartment or your home where you can make it warmer or cooler. And you can make yourself happier or less happy by the things you choose to focus on and the things you choose to do. So kind of deciding, I'm not just going to be a thermometer, I'm going to be a thermostat, or I'm not just going to be a chess piece that whatever happens affects my happiness. I'm going to be a chess player who says, okay, I don't have control of everything, but I can think, what can I do? What move can I make that will increase my happiness? And then make that move. So that's sort of a metaphor that I think is useful when it seems like, oh, but life is so hard and you don't understand, Michelle. I have all this hardship. That's right. But you also have some power to choose what you do with your hardships and what you focus on and what actions you take and who you surround yourself with in your free time. And so we can actually do a lot to be happier in our lives. Okay. And again, just like you train, I think I already made this point. A good runner isn't someone who ran today. It's someone who runs regularly, someone who's got big muscles. I have a friend who's a big lifter. I mean, she's a bodybuilder and she's got big muscles. And it's not because she went last week. It's because she's been doing it regularly for years. And emotional fitness is the same thing. You want to commit yourself to a lifetime of emotional fitness, which means regularly doing the things that make you happier and committing to do it as a habit. Now, if you just do it rarely, it's better than not at all, just like exercise and getting enough sleep. If you don't do it all the time, it's still good to do it when you can. But the more you incorporate these things into your life, the more you make it a habit or even better, a ritual, the better and the more effective. There's a professor, Michael Norton out of Harvard. His book just came out this week on rituals. Haven't read it yet. But he has a lot of research on happiness rituals, and that when people sort of have something they regularly do, they light candles on a certain day of the week. They walk with their friend every Sunday. They walk their dog. They take their dog to the park 3 times a week, whatever it is. And they kind of incorporate that into their regular life. Then they end up happier. Okay. So I want to share some thoughts from an expert who is a dog. I saw this somewhere and I just had to share it. It often seems, says the dog, it often seems like the human is jealous of me because of how happy I get about the simplest things. I don't know how to tell them they can do it too. Okay, this is not literally from a dog, but this is someone who wrote something in the voice of a happy golden retriever who's very excited. And the idea here is you can focus on the little things. You can get excited about things. You can take the time to get excited about the things you listed on your gratitude list, and you can be happy. And maybe you don't have a tail to wag, but you can still get a lot happier by focusing your energy on that rather than focusing on the things that aren't good, which we all have. We all have things that we can focus on to make ourselves unhappy. So gratitude, self-care, thanking others, doing things from others are just really important. One more thing I want to say, because it's just a huge problem among humans, especially college students, the population that I teach. I often ask people in my class, I'm going to ask you too, how many of you, say yes or no, regularly bully other people? Regularly bully other people? No. Okay. That's good to know because I wouldn't want to be training a bunch of bullies. Okay. How many of you are regularly in your head or even out loud saying horrible things about yourself, either to yourself in your head or out loud? Just kind of bullying yourself, like super self-critical. Oh my God, you're so stupid. You're such a loser. I can't believe I did that to yourself. A lot of you. So this is something I tell my students. It's a concept I came up with myself. Self-bullying is bullying. You need to stop that because you don't want to be a bully. And if you're bullying yourself, you're still a bully. And we need to get better at that. We need to get better at that because at the end of the day, I love this. I love this poem. It's a friend of mine took a picture at the Underground in London. I think it's called the Underground. And here's what it says. Treat yourself like you would treat a best friend because you spend the most time with yourself at the end. So stop yourself. When you hear yourself hacking at yourself and bullying yourself, pull back from that. There's a trick, a famous researcher who I know quite well, Ethan Kross, who wrote a whole book about it. He's a professor at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. He wrote a whole book, but the cool hack in the book is when you catch yourself being mean to yourself, talk to yourself like you're somebody else, even if you're talking in your head. Like instead of saying, you loser, you're just a dummy, you say, Michelle, you messed up. And when I start to say to myself, like I'm talking to somebody else, you messed up, Michelle. Like I'm talking to this other person named Michelle. People become nicer because we don't tend to bully others. So if you talk to yourself like you're talking to someone else, it often will kind of knee-jerkingly make you not be so mean. But also just remember, you're going to spend way more time with yourself in the shower, in bed, when you're eating. You're always with you. So work on that relationship and stop being a self-bully. Okay, we're out of time. But if you want to learn more about how you can become happier, I have a Spotify podcast. Looks kind of like this. That's the thing. And you can either take a picture of this or someone might put a link in the chat. I asked someone to put a link to my podcast in the chat, or you can email me to learn more about my podcast. I interview experts on happiness, including a professor from UT Austin, a professor from Yale, a woman who wrote a book on something called post-traumatic growth, a woman who did a book on happiness with money, around money. Quite a few great people, including professors and professionals, all of them book authors. They tend to like to promote their books. So if you'd like to learn about that podcast, you can just, hopefully someone will post the link to it in the chat. And if not, you can take a picture. Okay, so it is 8:07. I said I would end sometime between 8:15 and 8:30. I'm very happy to take questions. But for those of you who are wanting to go home, you can go. And if those of you who want to ask a question or hear the questions and answers, please let me know. You can post a question in the chat or you can raise your hand. And thank you to the people who posted a link to the Happy Podcast. I want to thank everyone. It looks like people stayed, so that's always good. Again, I will send you a recording. Oh, wait. I see something in the chat, so I'm going to look to see what that is. I see thank you. Oh, I love thank you. Thank you back. You're very welcome. Thank you for thanking me. I do love talking about this stuff. And I love it because it reminds me of what I need to do. And I also love sharing this information because I think it can help you to be happier. And I like to imagine that if this makes you happier, it'll make the people around you happier, and that we can all spread more happiness and more productivity and success and love and gratitude and all of that. So thank you so much from everyone from being here. And we will stay until, I think Rob wants to go, but we will stay until there's no one in the room. But thank you. And again, I hope to send you a recording as soon as we've figured out how to upload it onto YouTube. And thank you to everyone for showing up. And I also want to give a big thank you to Rob, who is my tech support. Rob Lyman he works in our AV, and I am a tech disabled. I mean, I'm just bad with technology. And he always trains me, and he's so patient when I forget how to do something. He reminds me, no matter how stupid my question is, he's very kind. So thank you, Rob, for making this possible. And Sarah said one thing before I go, sugar consumption is a huge culprit. Yeah, no, that's true. And I love sweets, but yeah. So stray away from carbs, sugar. Yeah. So some people, I'm not anti-carb, but if you notice that sugar makes you miserable, stop eating sugar. And that's a great point. So that was from someone in the chat. I'm pro fruit and pro healthy carbs, but whatever works for you is fine. But eating healthy is important. So thank you again for what everyone shared, and say goodbye.